Hello everyone, I'm Brock, also known as Brock the Llama, and in this video I will talk about games that you either do or don't know that are educational but not in the typical sense. These games are known by a great percentage of gamers and are loved due to how good they are, while also being educational in several different ways. These games are not the typical and boring type of educational games, but are instead regular games with something to take from that can be worthwhile. So without further ado, let's start the list. At number 10, we have a game that a big amount of people played when they were at school and probably remember it fondly. This game is the Oregon Trail. In this game you control a group of people that need to survive the struggles and obstacles during the Old West and traveling through the Oregon Trail. This game taught players educational as well as survival lessons through its simple yet addictive gameplay. There's also a very popular spin-off or parody of this game called the Oregon Trail, which is very popular and similar but has a twist to it, since you have to survive during a zombie apocalypse. The Oregon Trail is a very fun and addictive game that you can play almost anywhere. At number 9 we have the Typing of the Dead games. These games have been around for a while, and although they're pretty much the same as House of the Dead, they have different controls. This means that these games can be played with your keyboard, and in the process this can be a good practice for players that want to get better and faster at typing. So far the most fun and best game in the series has to be the Typing of the Dead Overkill due to the over-the-top story, a variety of levels, and very fun gameplay. So you can have fun playing these games while also practicing your typing or putting it to the test. Number 8 is a very interesting game on the list, and this game is Game Development Tycoon. What I mean by interesting is that this game can be taken both as an educational game or just for fun. This game teaches the player how to create their own game company from scratch, and also the player's choices impact the outcome of the game. If everything works out, you can become a giant corporation that makes AAA games and generates a lot of revenue. This game can be very educational and fun at the same time, although it can be a bit time consuming if you let it. I know that this game franchise at number 7 was very unexpected to be on the list, but I have to admit that the Burnout game franchise can also be educational for players. Let me explain. Although these games are chaotic, messy, and non-stop fun, they can also teach us a very important lesson when it comes to real-life driving. It could be taken as a bit of a stretch, but these games can let the player know that if you drive recklessly and without any care in the world, you could end up like your car when it crashes in the game. It could also be fun to watch, but also can teach you about having better reflexes by avoiding collisions, as well as what could happen to you if you drive like that. So the only acceptable way to drive like this is in these games, so have fun! Whoever that has played this game at number 6 knows that this game is both fun and educational, but it also requires patience to master it. This game is Kerbal's space program and is a very popular game, especially with PC players and YouTubers. In this game you control a space station that is trying to launch a rocket into outer space, but in order to succeed you have to learn the ropes of how physics work and build your rocket accordingly. If you fail, don't worry, it's still fun to watch all of the chaos when the rocket explodes or just doesn't work. But if you are patient and actually put effort into the game, you can actually make a rocket that can work, and the satisfaction that you get from it is just worth it. At number 5 we have a very popular franchise known as God of War, and these games can be quite educational to a certain point. Of course, Kratos' story is fiction, but what surrounds it is quite accurate and educational if you pay close attention to it. If you do, you can learn about Greek mythology, such as its history and lore. you can learn about the Greek gods, the beasts, and monsters, and their stories. And in the latest game, you can also learn quite a bit of Nordic mythology, which is just as fascinating and interesting as Greek mythology. In the process of learning all of this, you get to have hours of pure fun with awesome graphics, story, gameplay, and characters such as Kratos and the gods. Number 4 is pretty similar to number 3 in the way that everything else that surrounds the protagonist is accurate while the main story is not. These very popular games are the Assassin's Creed series. Every game in the franchise has their own lore and historical setting that can be quite interesting and exciting for history buffs like me. Even if you already know some history and can tell what is fiction and what is not in these games, it's still a lot of fun to see historical figures such as Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Jefferson, and Cleopatra being portrayed in these games. While these games contain a lot of fiction within them, the historical settings and some of their characters can be accurate and fun to watch come alive. At number 3, we also have a game that is mainly about mythology that even its title says so. And this game is Age of Mythology. I can't tell you just how many hours I poured into this fantastic game due to its awesome gameplay, excellent campaign, and great setting. Thanks to this game I learned a lot about Greek, Nordic, and Egyptian mythologies. This game can even go into detail about everything if you let it, such as explaining the stories of gods, beasts, armies, and everything related to these cultures. I would read every description and I was fascinated by how good and interesting everything was written and portrayed in the game. The campaign mode is also a big highlight of the game. Although it's a separate story that is not based exactly on the mythologies that it portrays, it still takes you to a journey throughout Greece, Egypt, and Nordic territories. Just to tell you how good it is, I actually finished the campaign and its Titans expansion about more than 5 times. This is a must if you love learning about ancient mythologies and like real-time strategy games. At number 2, we have another creation from the same developers of Age of Mythology, and these games are the Age of Empires trilogy. These games are just as fun as the previous entry to the list, but I had to place it higher on the list because this time it's 3 games that take place in different time periods with different settings. While I have to admit that 2 and 3 are better than the first one, they all can be a lot of fun and quite educational. With these games you can learn about the Roman Empire, the Aztec civilization, the Mongol Empire, the Spanish Empire during colonization, and so much more. These games have some of the best gameplay and real-time strategy games, and provide amazing campaign modes that are enjoyable and educational in their own ways. With the first 2 being remastered, it's hard to come up with an excuse for not playing these games, since all 3 are on Steam and can be bought very cheap whenever they're on sale. Even if you have an OK PC, these games are a must, period. And at number 1, we have a game franchise that almost needs no introduction, which is of course Sid Meier's Civilization franchise. Several years ago, when I didn't know too much about these games, I thought that they were probably very boring and hard to play. But once I played Civilization 4, I was completely convinced that these games were actually amazing, and I understood why they were praised so much. I got into these games so much that for quite some time I would not stop playing them for about 2 or 3 hours a day, and they were the only games that I would play. These games are so much fun and addictive that if you give them a try, you'll probably enjoy them too. When it comes to the educational part, these games teach you how to think critically, how to solve problems, and also about different civilizations and their leaders such as Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, Genghis Khan, and Montezuma amongst many more. These games require a bit of time to fully enjoy, but if you give them enough patience and time, they can be quite fun and they're great time killers. So these are 10 excellent educational video games that can be enjoyed by anyone. Some people may like a certain type of game more than another, but these are guaranteed to provide excellent entertainment, as well as teach about different things that can be useful. So what do you think of the video? If you enjoyed it, why not give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And please comment below what your favorite educational games are, and I'll make sure to reply and join in the conversation. Thanks for watching and have an awesome day.